Okay, so let's start talking about why we require statistics and research methods. So um, maybe you didn't pick psychology to major because you got to take psych statistics. Chances are you are interested in like how people behave and probably being in some sort of human service field like clinical or counseling. Um, well, if you look at doctoral clinical programs and you look at the number one required course in doctoral clinical programs, it's psychological statistics. Well over 90% of the programs expect you to have taken a course in psychological statistics and research methods. The reason is that statistics and research methods are basically what is required to think critically about psychology, being able to both conduct research and to evaluate research. So let's take a look here. Um, so statistics and research methods really is the foundation of critical thinking in psychology. And in order to be a good psychologist, you have to be able to discriminate between everyday informal psychology, anecdotes, and biases from from formal psychological science. Not only is this really a critical skill, no matter what area of psychology you go into, but it's also a highly marketable skill. So a lot of businesses these days are recruit psychologists to do market research and also do internal essays of like management effectiveness and things like that, which requires a knowledge of research methods and of measurement. So it's a highly marketable skill. It's actually one of the most marketable skills you develop in the psychology major. It's also useful thinking about critically about everyday events, and there's no clearer example of that than what we're going through right now. So you'll hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, this is definitely a cure for COVID-19, or this is definitely going to help," and you hear different authorities arguing back and forth. And a lot of those authorities don't really understand the nature of science, what you're basically going to learn in this course. If they had taken this course, they would be able to evaluate more rigorously and more critically what is established scientifically and what is not, what the evidence shows and what it doesn't. So, hydrochloroquine is kind of the big one right now, and the best evidence shows that it's not effective, no matter if authorities say they think it is, or people interpret archival studies. The best evidence is that it's not effective, and you're going to learn why that's the case in this course. So, after taking stats and research methods, you should be able to take any sort of research questions, like finding the ways to address the coronavirus. You should be able to examine the research literature, see what's been done before, and then design and conduct research that has never been done before that'll address those questions, research questions, analyze the data, make appropriate conclusions, and then communicate the findings. That is the major skill set of the psych major. It is useful for conducting research. It's also useful in business, and it's useful just in everyday functioning to be a well-informed citizen. All right. So what exactly does statistics do for you? You've probably taken statistics courses already, and what you've been focusing on is how to calculate them. In this course, we're going to focus on how to use them as tools. So it's not just calculating them correctly, it's knowing when to use them, how to use them, what you can and can't conclude from them, right? So basically what statistics do for you is it basically makes your thinking more precise, right? So really it's taking what you do already, making judgments and decisions, and it's making those judgments and decisions more precise. So let's say you meet somebody new and you go, well, that person's like really boring. All right. So that's just a general statement. So statistics says that what you're really saying is like there is this distribution in the population of boringness. Okay. It's like probably a normal distribution. Some people are really, really boring. Some people are really, really not boring, probably more exciting. Okay. So what you're saying is this person is probably in the higher end of the boring scale, right? So that's what statistics do for you. That's what we learn about distributions and averages and things like that to make these kinds of judgments. And you do this all the time. You're making these comparative judgments. So you meet someone and you're making judgments. You're comparing them against a population. Now these judgments are subject to bias. So, for example, on our student recruiting team, we recruit people who are friendly and outgoing and funny and friendly because we want people who are prospective students to think all Stanford students are that friendly and fun. So they generalize to like the entire population. Then they end up coming here. Then they find out that, well, maybe not everyone is quite that nice. I mean, there are non-psych majors who aren't as nice as psych majors are. Okay, so that's kind of what statistics are doing. It's basically just formalizing the kinds of decisions and judgments you make all the time. So let's do a more like formal example study that we can analyze. So let's say you wanted to study the impact of stress on intellectual functioning, right? You think that stress has a negative impact in intellectual functioning, okay? So we take 12 students and we give them a bogus vocational aptitude test. So we give them a test, we tell them it's going to measure their vocational aptitude, what they're probably likely good at doing as a career. We randomly divide them into high stress and low stress groups, so 6 in each group, okay? So for the low stress group, we give them encouraging feedback. Oh, you're right on track, you've got a wide variety of careers open to you. You can just pick whatever you want. You can't make a bad choice, right? Then the high stress group, we give them devastatingly bad feedback. Like, man, you're not smart enough to actually succeed in anything that requires like executive level management. You just better hope that you can find some sort of like piecemeal, like manual labor job. We think it's probably so bad that, you probably shouldn't waste your time at college. Maybe you should consider dropping out and just going directly into like the, labor workforce or something like that. So we really just give them all sorts of feedback like they have no future at all in any sort of career. Okay. So then we give them the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale test. An IQ test has an average of in the population of 100, right? And we collect the data. Okay, so here, let's say we collected the data for the 6 people in the low stress group over here and 6 people in the high stress group over here. So what can we make of this? We can look at the numbers, and I've ordered the numbers from low to high. We can do that. Okay, but we've got to make sense out of these numbers, right? So we've got to have some way of describing them. We have some way of addressing our experimental hypothesis that the high stress group would score lower, right? So what can we do with this? All right, now, if you've taken other stat courses or had stat and math before, maybe you're thinking, well, we can calculate an average, we can calculate a mean. Well, yeah, we can do that. Why do we do that? What is that going to show us? Okay. Maybe we can calculate a standard deviation. Remember what standard deviations are? Yeah, we can do that too. So here's the mean and standard deviation for the low stress group. Here's the mean and standard deviation for the high stress group. Okay. And we can compare, the mean for the low stress group is 100. The mean for the high stress group is 95. And we predicted that the low stress group should have a higher IQ. So like 100, that's bigger than 95. So, does that prove my hypothesis? Well, 5 points, that's not a big difference there. And if you look at like the scores, you see that like the low stress group goes from 90 to 105. The high stress group goes from 70 to 125, like a much bigger spread of scores here. The highest scores were actually in the high stress group, but then so were the lower scores. Okay, so what is going on here? Okay, statistics will allow us to analyze the set of data to both summarize the data in a way that makes more sense than just looking at 12 numbers, and also to draw conclusions about whether our hypothesis was supported or not, or if it just, by chance we happen to get a bunch of high scoring and low scoring people in the high stress group and a bunch of people clustered right around 100 in the low stress group. Okay, so statistics have two functions for us. The first is descriptive. So we describe what's going on in a set of data. So descriptive statistics are statistics used to summarize or reveal the important characteristics of a data set. All right. So instead of looking at raw data like what we've got here, we can capture important characteristics of the data using statistics like the mean and the standard deviation. It tells us how most people scored. It tells us how spread apart the scores are, things like that. So instead of looking at a bunch of numbers, we have these summary statistics which allow us to quickly capture the critical properties of a set of data. That's descriptive statistics. Okay, inferential statistics are used to draw conclusions and make generalizations about a population based on a sample. So, we have 6 people here in the low stress group, 6 people here in the high stress group, and I want to generalize the results. Well, first of all, I want to make conclusions. Is this 5-point difference really meaningful, or is it just due to random chance, right? Then I want to generalize from these college students to the entire population, right? Inferential statistics allows us to do that, allows us to address those issues. Okay, so we've got 2 different kinds of statistics here. We've got descriptive statistics, we've got inferential statistics, right? Which of the 2 do you think is harder? Okay. Actually, it's the inferential statistics. It's much, much harder to do because of all the problems in generalization and making conclusions. So we're going to start with descriptive statistics, and then towards the end of the semester, we're going to be talking more about inferential statistics, right? So that's kind of where we're going in the course. So we're going to start with things like graphing, frequency distributions, means and standard deviations, and then we're going to, that's the descriptive statistics. Then we're going to inferential statistics. Remember, if you've taken stats before, z-tests, t-tests, analysis of variance, and things like that. But that's kind of what we're going to learn to do. And the descriptive statistics are just as useful, if not more useful, than the inferential statistics. Okay, now I want to end this first presentation with an old story here. This was a Facebook post by a former student of mine, Callie Gibson. So this is when she was taking statistics where you are now. So, dear Statistics for Social Sciences, which is the old name for the course, you are ruining my life, and not in a good way. I would like for you to be over today. I think she left out B. Because of you, I'm contemplating dropping out of school and becoming a pirate. You don't have to do math. None of my love, Callie. All right, so kind of bleak, kind of grim. You might think that this student would never want to deal with statistics again. But, actually, Callie got through statistics. She did fine. She went on and she got her PhD. One of her specializations is in research methods, and she's now assistant professor at Drury University. So just to show you that what you're learning is not impossible. It's you don't have to love it right away, but you'll recognize how useful it is and how powerful it is. If nothing else, just recognize that after you finish this course, you'll know more statistics and be able to use them better than the administrators at this college and most of the civic leaders that you will deal with. It is a powerful form of knowledge to know. So that's enough for our first presentation, and we'll start with defining basic terms next time.